Ridiculous.
Ridiculous, but I bet it was for a significant amount of money.
Still ridiculous.
Yeah, but fun. I'd watch it. Look, Jake Paul wants to test himself against actual, not just world champion, but one of the greatest of all time.
He fought, and it wasn't fixed. Jake Paul would not survive 45 seconds.
I don't know about that. I think it would take a few rounds.
Really?
But yeah, first of all, Jake is a lot bigger. Jake's a lot bigger.
But what weight would they fight?
Well,
It's not about the number. If it was about the number, we could have started up. I would have tell you, I'm not just interested. It makes no sense for me. It's not my what I'm looking at right now.
Joe Rogan was left speechless when he heard that Jake Paul had reached out to Francis. Ngannou, as a potential opponent after his fight with Gervonta Davis, fell apart. On his show, Rogan called the idea wild and borderline reckless, questioning if Jake really understood the danger he was walking toward. Ngannou, the former UFC champion turned boxing monster, is not just another fighter, he's a human wrecking ball. Rogan said the thought of Jake taking on someone of Ngannou's caliber was nearly unbelievable. Still, he admitted that if it ever happened, the world would stop to witness it, a matchup so unexpected. It could shake both the boxing and MMA world.
Nikista calls Francis. This is Francis telling the story. Nikista calls Francis and says, hey, we need your help. We need an opponent for Jake. Tank is out. And Francis says, all right. And Francis says, well, how can I help you? Nikista says, well, we're looking at an opponent for Jake. Tank Davis is out. And Francis says, all right, but specifically, how can I help you? Nikista takes a third swing at the bat. He says, well, we need an opponent. We need a boxer. We need a partner. We need somebody to fight Jake. Tank is out. And Francis asks him again, okay, what specifically can I do?
Jake Paul's scheduled clash with Gervonta Davis was canceled after legal issues surrounded Davis, forcing Jake's team to act fast in finding a replacement. Among the big names that surfaced was Francis Ngannou, the powerhouse who once ruled the UFC heavyweight division and then stepped into boxing with thunder in his fists. Known for his raw power, size, and intimidation, Ngannou isn't just a fighter, he's a symbol of destruction. Even mentioning his name as a possible opponent sent the internet buzzing, with fans calling the idea both exciting and insane.
The saga, I think the fight is going to be completely canceled and rescheduled, and now we have potential opponent names and some people being ruled out coming into today. This is not a joke. It was said by Mike Coppinger and others that the #1 candidate to replace Tank Davis in a Jake Paul fight, probably on a different date, was going to be Francis Ngannou. What the f? But we have an update on that and other potential names that Jake could fight. Again, I think on a separate date, and why I think the Jake and Tank fight is completely off. No more, maybe, no more, we don't think it'll happen. I think it's completely off.
Michael Bisping couldn't help but laugh at the dramatic difference between Jake Paul's original target and his rumored new one. He noted that Gervonta Davis is a lightweight, fast, compact, and small, while Francis Ngannou is a giant, carrying heavyweight power that few humans can handle. Bisping said this wasn't just a change of opponent. It was a complete shift in dimensions, danger, and intensity. Jumping from a lightweight to a heavyweight is like switching from a storm to a hurricane, and Jake was standing right in its path.
Like Mike Tyson, who's 58, Anderson Silva, who was way past his prime, people like Nate Diaz, who were way smaller. Gervonta Davis really did take the piss. I mean, that was just the craziest shout ever. To go from fighting Gervonta Davis, way smaller, to now boxing Francis Ngannou. I mean, listen, if he does it, fair play. But I just call #1 bullshit on this brother, because I don't see this happening. No.
This is #1 bullshit.
I just don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. Nate Diaz, yeah, 100%. I mean, he beat him once already. I'm sure Nate Diaz would love to get another big payday, because obviously boxing on Netflix and going up against Jake Paul, given his success, given the name that he has, and given the magnitude of his events, Nate Diaz will get paid an absolute fortune once again. We know that it wasn't too long ago Jake Paul was talking about boxing Anthony Joshua. And that never came to fruition. There's absolutely no way he would box Anthony Joshua. If he did, if he was to do something like that, whether it be Anthony Joshua or Francis Ngannou, I'd give him his props. I'd give him his credit. And you never know. Maybe he would do it just for the clout, because in many ways it would be, sorry about the airport notifications, it would be, an admirable thing to do. And it will be Jake Paul taking on somebody bigger with more experience.
When Francis Ngannou got the call from Jake Paul's team, he admitted it completely caught him by surprise. The offer, he said, came out of nowhere and didn't align with his current goals in boxing. While money was part of the talk, Ngannou made it clear that this wasn't about chasing a paycheck. It was about purpose. He questioned the logic behind replacing Gervonta Davis, a small fighter, with him, a heavyweight giant. To Ngannou, the timing and reasoning didn't fit. It wasn't a smart move. It was a random leap.
To fight Jake to replace Gervonta, I'm like, who's Jake? I was so confused, I wasn't expecting that at all. And he said, yeah, Jake Paul, he's fighting. And I'm like, no, bro, come on. Don't disrespect me like that. And then they even say they even come out after and say, and what if the number are good? He sent out some number. I'm like, it's not about the number. If it was about the number, we could have started talk. I would have tell you, I'm not just interested. He make no sense for me. It's not my what I'm looking at right now.
Daniel. Cormier didn't hold back when he addressed Jake Paul's rumored challenge. He warned that stepping into a ring with Francis Ngannou isn't just bold, it's dangerous. Cormier reminded fans that Ngannou's power has left even elite fighters trembling. And Jake hasn't faced anything close to that level of destruction. He said this isn't a fight built for hype or views. It's a fight that could genuinely hurt Jake. The risk, Cormier explained, isn't worth the temporary spotlight. This is no game. One mistake, one clean punch. And it could all end in a second.
All goes from fighting Gervonta Davis to calling out Francis Ngannou. Jake Paul don't want those problems. I can't say it any different. Jake Paul does not want any Francis Ngannou problems. He don't. He does not want those issues. While I think it's crazy and I credit him for doing that, and I'm surprised he did that, this could be a ploy. Him poking out his chest, saying, I want Francis. He don't want those Francis Ngannou problems. I don't care what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou. Jake Paul gets in there with Francis. Francis will knock his head off this planet. You don't want those Francis problems. I watched Francis put down Tyson Fury. Sure, Anthony Joshua beat him. But even if Jake got power, I don't think he got power to be dealing with Francis. Because all it takes is for one to land and he going to put you out.
Cormier went on to question Jake's true motivation, suggesting that the idea was more about headlines than heart. He warned that Jake might be chasing attention without realizing what kind of monster he's inviting into the ring. Ngannou's strength is legendary punches that break records and opponents at once. Cormier stressed that the difference between MMA striking and boxing defense is massive. And if Jake steps in, thinking this is another influencer bout, he might not last around. Against Ngannou, there's no room for ego, only survival.
Right? Boxing is much different than mixed martial arts. The target audience might be the same, but the demographics different. The places where people are brought up are different. There's bigger entourages in boxing. It's just a different world in boxing. We've known that from the very beginning. We know that Gervonta Davis was not going to just play to Jake Paul's rules. I still don't know exactly why this thing is falling apart, but it is falling apart bad. It is bursting at the seams. We are almost exactly where we should have never started. This should have never gotten started, but it did. But we are almost now exactly where we need to be in the fight, and that's it being off.